Space Valkyria was made in April of 2015 by Jack the Ripper. It's a very well-known base in the community, but many players don't know how it was built and what events took place there. Today in this video, I will be telling you the history of the 3 Space Valkyrias from the perspective of Jack the Ripper. In the process of Asgard 2 being griefed in early 2015, Jack thought about going with the rest of the Valkyrians to the 3rd spawn incursion, but then had another idea. He wanted to build an end base, but this time, a long-lasting end base. The time was just right, since the end was deserted and a lot of players would be at spawn for the 3rd incursion. He would walk back to spawn in the nether, and just so happened to cross an old highway that was the same exact tunnel he, Swadio, and Bernard used to get to an end portal to make their first end base. Jack saw this as a perfect opportunity and would bring his new friends to create this new end base. Jack would message an old friend named Stupid Walrus for the coordinates to his end farm he made after the lands was griefed, and he gave Jack the coordinates to it. Once Jack entered the end, he used the bedrock path that his friend Stupid Walrus generated a few months prior to get to his farm. When Jack arrived, it was a little chateau on the edge of nothing. However, it had a gigantic path leading right to it. Jack thought, what was he supposed to do with it? The end farm already had livestock and common essentials, so Jack decided that he can't live here directly, but he could bridge off a few hundred blocks into the void, lay down the foundation, and bring 2 of each animal there. From there, Jack would begin the creation of Space Valkyria. He didn't know what Space Valkyria was going to look like, but he had an idea, since there was a similar build that he made at the lands that was a gigantic stone temple floating in the sky, which was known as the Sky Temple of Autism. But later on, he would name it Space Valkyria because of the endless void of the end, which looks like space, and Valkyria to remind Jack of the better times. It was going to have every manner of amenity possible. It had micro farms, livestock, pig spawners from pyrobites, the central room where everything anybody else built would connect back to, compact farms, storage rooms, and so much more. A player named XCC2 came to Space Valkyria to help with construction and told Jack that imps were once again usable. For those who don't know what imps are, they were infinite blocks, which were basically 2.8 billion blocks all compressed into one, and were a remnant of the old 1.5 minecart dupe. Very few players had them, as the knowledge of how to make them was kept a secret. When a player used an imp, the imp would tick down into negative numbers and then loop back to positive 127. Imps were very risky to use directly by hand, as they could easily break by splitting into normal stacks, and thus permanently be lost. For best safety practices, the number keys were used to move them around in your inventory. This is how Jack would ultimately get all the resources for the construction. XCC2 allowed him the usage of stone, oak wood, gold, diamond, iron, emerald, and beacons. All in all, this was more wealth than anything Jack has seen in many years. However, they put them in a dispenser just to be safe and make the process more automatable. Once they were put into the dispenser, they would shoot out. It was literally a cascade of whatever material you wanted. Pyrobite also came by later and gave Jack player heads, a quartz inf, and a dirt inf. Jack would build a museum for the player heads. Pyrobite also gave Jack a single piece of bedrock and told him to do whatever he wanted with it. Jack knew exactly where he was going to place it, at the very bottom center of the tower. This made Space Valkyria one of the few bases that had bedrock placed. Pyrobite also gave Jack a command block to hold at Space Valkyria, but they were completely useless since they could not be placed at all and would just pop back into your inventory. And lastly, Pyrobite gave him a gassed egg, and Jack remembered that in the Minecraft version 1.8 patch notes, players can now change the type of spawner with a mob egg. So they decided to convert a pig spawner into a gas spawner. They then built a gas farm inside the central room. Slowly but surely, Space Valkyria shaped up to a gigantic tower. The crowning jewel was going to be a massive artificial jungle biome at the very top, in an enclosed dome, a river running through it, wild melons, all to make it look as natural as possible. However, it would never be finished. Around this time, FitMC found Space Valkyria while flying on his own machine to establish his own end base. Fit was awestruck by what he saw, and pretty soon, others wanted to see the base. In the final week of May 2015, while Pyrobay was AFK at Space Valkyria, someone used a /tail@A coordinate exploit on him. Soon after, Jerry 2013 and Taylor 112 came to Space Valkyria to grief it with TNT and Withers. The base members caught Jared in the act, and Jared jumped into the void to escape. Thankfully, the player heads that Jared and Taylor took could be replaced. However, Jack was not done and decided to bridge off a kilometer and built what is now commonly referred to as Space Valkyria 2. This half Space Valkyria was known simply as the Island. However, due to Space Valkyria being griefed, a bunch of players wanted to visit, thus bringing a lot of attention to the end. This made Jack have the idea to shut down the end. Jack figured that if he were to somehow delete all of the end portals, he can build in such a way that no one would be able to find him. Even if they knew where he was, they wouldn't be able to get to him. Around this time, Taylor 112 told Jack how to destroy end portals with buckets of water or lava. Jack went on his alternate account and broke a majority of end portals, officially shutting down the end. Nobody was aware of it, and nobody could go into the end for the rest of 2015. For about 9 months, Jack's group held down the end, and Space Valkyria 2 reigned supreme for what seemed like an eternity, since things became pretty boring out there for a while. In that time, Jack built an entire island in the style of the overworld and planned to make many more, but got bored of the project. Instead, he opted to make a palace almost entirely out of quartz. The style of this palace would go on to influence the real Space Valkyria 2 later on in late 2016. It wasn't until Mojang would announce Minecraft version 1.9 where the end will be updated with new structures and items. By that time, Jack was already situated and it was too late to change course, and he thought on the bright side, he would have the first access to the update's contents. On the downside, players are going to come back to the end. When the update was introduced to 2B2T, elytras were the go-to item to get from the end. The end was semi-shut down at this point, and players would use Bowfly to fly to end cities for elytras. Jack was the first player to get an elytra, and still owns that elytra till this day. He now had an easy way to get back and forth from the island. Unfortunately, soon after the end reopened, Nerdzinc arrived at the second half of Space Valkyria using an illegal end portal. They griefed the base soon after. After the destruction of both parts of Space Valkyria, Jack decided to start work on a new project in late 2016, Space Valkyria 2.0. Jack was not alone, as he had basemates like Silver Crown King, Parthicus, Alpha Computer, and Hermetic Lock. Space Valkyria 2.0 was to be built farther away than any of Jack's previous end bases. To quickly get back to end spawn, he had an end gateway at the core of the base. To get all of the necessary materials for the build, the group planned to mine all of the quartz necessary. In retrospect, that was an insane project that had no chance of being possible. However, the 1111 dupe ensured that the huge mining project wouldn't be necessary at all. After some terraforming in early 2017, the building eventually became a gigantic space station, mostly made of quartz, obsidian, and multicolored glass, all in the same style as the quartz place of the second part of Space Valkyria and the pillar structure from the first half. The station's main core was a round tower of differing diameters that contained reconstructions of some biomes, different crop farms like wheat, potatoes, beetroot, sugarcane, cactus, various flowers, and trees. It also contained a housing area, an enchanting room, and storage room with various chests and shulkers. The key biome stood at the top of the tower, which had a room with trees, grass, plants, and flowers. During construction, pig spawners were able to be placed and used, so 12 pig spawners were used to bring the first animals to Space Valkyria 2.0. One of the unique structures was the Rainbow Road, made of glass, surrounding all of the base's perimeter. Beyond the Taurus, there were 5 levels of rings, mainly made of quartz and obsidian. Then, in May 2019, utilizing the Pig God mode exploit, Nerdzinc once again arrived after obtaining the coordinates to the base from the Enderpearl load exploit. The base was not fully finished when it was griefed, as the rings were still incomplete. A world download of Space Valkyria 2.0 was released on Reddit after its destruction. Today, both major Space Valkyrias are blown up. It's cool to see that bases like Space Valkyria have so much history to it, much of which was largely unknown. Players still visit the remnants of these iconic landmarks and even leave signs showing that these bases are still remembered till this day. Thanks for watching. I would like to thank Jack the Ripper and Trump17 for the information for this video. Leave a like and maybe consider subscribing for more videos like this in the future. Anyway guys, stay fast and see you guys next time.